What up, peeps? Okay, so this is gonna be a little different. I've been very busy. I've been mostly working on my Blair Witch review. I'm gonna have to split that in two parts because, like I said, I'm so busy. I have school and then work takes up most of my day, and then the Blair Witch Part 1. I really want to get that done. I'm gonna see if I can try to work on it after I do this video. But instead of scripting, this is gonna be more of an unscripted review. I feel like I'm not gonna be doing this as much. I'm probably going to be doing this less than usual because this is one of those, I haven't done a video in a couple of weeks, so I'm like, I might as well just do something. So I saw 3 movies and I'm just going to talk about them off script. Usually I'll probably have to look through my phone and stuff like that to make sure I, like get the names and stuff right. But I feel like that's the best way I can do this without, it's just the best way I can do it. So this won't be as frequent, but this is one of those times where I feel like I need to do it. So yeah, I watched 3 movies. 2 movies I've been anticipating, and 1 movie that I've been reluctant to watch because, just for reasons. So the first movie I watched was Decision to Leave, directed by Park Chan-wook. He directed Old Boy, and he also directed the excellent what's the movie called? The Handmaiden. He directed The Handmaiden, which was great. I only saw that movie once, so I need to get back to seeing that again. And he also directed this movie, which I thought was pretty great. It's not perfect. It's probably not even. It's definitely far from his best movies, but he definitely shows so much skill as a storyteller and a filmmaker. But what I really like about Park Chan-wook's movies, his movies seem to be very structurally complicated. Not all the time. Old Boy was probably less complicated, but I actually feel like out of the movies that I've seen from him, I've seen all of his movies, but the movies I have seen from him, I think Joint Security Area might be his most complicated movie. It's one of his earlier films from 2000. I've only seen that once, but I personally loved it, and I'm gonna have to try to watch it again at some point. But that's a really good one too. Very good movie. But yeah, that was a structurally complicated movie. Decision to Leave, probably somewhere as far as complicated structures go, it's somewhere probably in the middle of maybe Old Boy and Joint Security Area. And I say that because this is more of a murder mystery, and it's a very complicated murder mystery sort of movie. And the reason why that is I don't want to spoil the movie because it's actually pretty fascinating. As I was watching it, I had a hard time gauging exactly what was happening. And the reason why that is because I think this is it's some of the dialogue choices, more like dialogue translations, because a lot of the language translations has some very strange dialogue, and this isn't really unusual for something like like most Asian films. A lot of their dialogue is very poetic, I would say, very poetic and sometimes very unnatural, not in a bad way, but it's because that's how they sort of express the themes of the story. That's sort of what was going on here. A lot of the dialogue was very sort of gravitas, if that makes sense, and it didn't. It worked a lot for the movie, but other times it did feel like, okay, so this is really like, is this what the dialogue is going to be? It's not something that you can translate cohesively to American audiences sometimes when it comes to sort of dialogue, which is why I don't think this movie will click a lot with people. But I think this is also just comes with the benefit of wanting to see it again. But it's a very interesting, somewhat almost reminds me of Vertigo, the Hitchcock film, where it's about a detective that has some sort of an obsession with this suspect who's happens to be a woman, and he's more obsessive, and it kind of causes him to put his feelings before the case. And I don't want to say too much, but when it goes there, it's very interesting. The performances were really good. I'm looking at my phone right now. Park Hae-il, he plays the police officer. And I like this performance because his performance was very nuanced. There wasn't really a lot that was said about his character, but I sort of like the journey he went on. He's very stern. He has a sense of sternness to him, and throughout the sternness, he's sort of slowly opening up into a different person when he encounters the suspect. And speaking of the suspect, Tang Wei was fantastic. A lot of times, a lot of what was communicated was through her facial expressions. And this is a side, I've only seen her in this movie, and this is a side of a pretty great actress. She really embodies just the subtlety and the internalization of this character who's pretty much trying to get to some place, if that makes sense. I don't want to be too specific, but just to get to some place out of the position that she's in. And it's very interesting. But yeah, the performances overall, those two really gave very effective performances. Their chemistry was very good throughout the film, and a lot of the moments they shared together felt very low-key, romantically developed. But this is the thing, it's one of those movies where I think Park Chan-wook's goal was to subvert that idea, so we don't really get a lot of these physical romantic moments. We do get one scene where they, one kissing scene, but like any sort of, put this in a different director, and that director probably would have thought down the checklist, oh, I guess we gotta have sex scenes here and there. We gotta have those moments, and Park Chan-wook didn't do that. He didn't do that at all, and I think that's good. The plot, like I said before, it's a very complicated plot. It's a very complicated mystery plot, and I think watching it again, I might have more of an idea of what's happening or what's going on, or how these intricate pieces of what's going on really bring the full picture. Because the ending was pretty strong. It's a pretty compelling conclusion. And the reason why that is because of everything that came before. And like I said, a lot of it wasn't fully clear, so I have to see it again at some point in time. The filmmaking wise, I think that it's very clear that Park Chan-wook is growing as a filmmaker. He's definitely grown. This film has some really strong cinematography choices. I really like the way he uses the lenses. He uses I can't remember exactly what it's called. Give me a second. So, Young Kim did the cinematography for this movie. I don't want to say he uses wide angle lenses, but the cinematography and the camera work has a lot of ways. He pans the camera forward and back in ways that kind of helps you really to appreciate the framing, and it's more so how he brings things in the frame, or how he brings characters in the frame. And there's a great scene that kind of pans the camera back, and then we see both characters in frame, and it's just sort of how it's very specific. I can't really describe it, but it's a very specific way of panning and framing, and it's just beautiful. There's near the end of the movie, there's just some beautiful cinematography. It's amazing. I absolutely love the way this movie was shot. Great use of weather. A lot of variations on how the weather was utilized during very important scenes. I really like. There seems to be a occurring usage of eyes. You'll see some characters with eyes that aren't dead, and then you'll see the main character have eye drops that he has to put in his eye, and then you have just these very specific eye moments. This is why I want to see this movie again, because there seems to be a lot of symbolism that I might have missed. Like I said, I don't want to say too much about this movie. It's not for everybody. I know that's not everybody's favorite phrase, because it is a very intricate mystery story that's very personal. It's a very personal movie. It reminds me of Vertigo. Vertigo was a very personal film, and this really equates to just how you take a conventional murder mystery plot and you sort of subvert it to explore more personal, more human themes. So yeah, if I was to rate this movie, I rated it on Letterboxd 4 stars. It's a solid movie. Like I said, I have to watch it again. I really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite movie by Park Chan-wook, but it is a good movie, and it's a very good movie. And if you like some of his other movies, you'll most likely dig this one. This one's actually pretty divisive. Some people really don't like this movie, and other people really do. But I think it won the Palme d'Or respectively. It deserved it. But yeah, like I said, I'll, if I ever watch it again, I might do a video on it if I pay attention more to it. So yeah, 4 stars. The next movie I saw was called My Policeman. This was directed by Michael Grandage, and I haven't seen anything else from him, so I'm not really sure. I kind of looked at his IMDb, and he seemed like he didn't really do anything notable. He made a movie called Genius in 2016, a movie called Bed in 2010, and then just he was an actor and other stuff. Like he hasn't done anything I haven't, like notable. But yeah, so this movie was starring Harry Styles. Harry Styles is, this is a singer. Emma Corrin, Gina McKee, Linus Roche. He actually played Wayne, Thomas Wayne, and he also played that Necromonger in Chronicles of Riddick. He was like the best character in that movie. And David Dawson, I've never seen him in anything. So yeah, like some of these actors I'm not familiar with, but this was not a bad movie, but it wasn't good either. I was actually reluctant to watch this movie because I wasn't really sure if I would like it. My biggest thing when it comes to singers that are trying to transfer into acting is that they still have that ego. That's why Beyonce is one of the worst actresses in the world, because she seems to think that she is above everyone else in terms of certain things in the field of entertainment, and she is not. And Harry Styles, he doesn't have that much of an ego going on here, but his performance, in a sense, kind of brought the movie down a lot. He's not bad, but he's not good. He's sort of just like saying his lines. And it's very weird because it's more, not weird, but it's more distracting than anything. It's because he is the main character. And it's so funny that he's so centralized as the attractive character that, these two particular people want. So yeah, this movie is also exploring gay themes. And I have no issue with movies exploring, like themes of, sexual identity. But this movie sucked so badly at exploring sexual identity because in a sense it's not really doing anything new or having anything new to say about it. What this movie is doing really is just giving us a checklisted version of what we've seen done better. This movie actually reminded me a lot of Brokeback Mountain. I kept thinking about that movie because I think that's an excellent movie. The Brokeback Mountain is probably the best at this film because what this movie is doing is exploring sexual identity and, like themes of, homosexuality in a certain time period where it was restricted. So that's sort of what's happening here with this movie that Brokeback Mountain did much better. And both films sort of take place they're very close in time periods. My Policeman takes place somewhere in the 50s and Brokeback Mountain takes place in like somewhere in the 60s. I think early to mid 60s. I think, correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, this movie was it was very cliched. It was very predictable. I think the film's biggest mistake was constantly cutting back and forth from time periods because we see these three characters as adults, and then we cut back to them in the past. So I'm thinking to myself, you can only make the audience care so much. If you're going to already tell us the outcome of these three characters' journeys, then why even bother? Sometimes it works. Saving Private Ryan, it did it pretty well. It really depends on the kind of story you're telling, but I feel like this movie didn't need to have these, like back and forth time period jumping scenes. We don't really need that because it kind of takes away from, the emotional investment. Like, it just didn't matter to me. And it's already bad enough that these characters don't really have there's not much about these characters that I like. One character is sort of sexually confused, and the other one is gay, and the other one is straight. And we're just sort of waiting for the movie to get to what we already know. And it's just it's a very generic, unsurprising, unspecial plot. Like I said, the performances aren't bad. They're just very mid, bland, not bad, just bland. The ending was I thought the ending was fitting. It was a fitting conclusion. I'm not gonna spoil it, but it was like, okay, it's about as best of an ending you can make for this movie. The score for this movie was kind of sucky. It was just a lot of dramatic, cliche piano music that you'd expect from Hallmark. And I'm very shocked that they did it that way, but I'm not too surprised because this movie doesn't really seem to have much on his mind except, Harry Styles has a nice butt. He's got a great body. Look how great looking his body looks. That's all I got from this movie. It's like, Harry Styles is the hot tamale and the centerpiece of this romance, and it's just really lame. Actually, it's kind of weird because this movie was almost about 2 hours, but it felt like I got nothing out of it. Like, it kind of felt like there was nothing happening in it. The movie kind of just there was no not there wasn't a lack of structure, but more so just a lack of events. Like, I'm watching this movie and I'm just like, wow, like there's nothing going on for these 2 hours. It was very bizarre, but not, like I said, this is an unspecial movie. I didn't like it. A couple of times I just wanted to just turn it off and watch something else, but I kind of trucked through it. And I was like, maybe this movie will redeem itself at the end, and it didn't really not redeem itself, but it didn't really do much to make up for what came before. So yeah, I'm gonna give this what I give this 3.5. No, I ain't 3.5. Ain't that good. 2.5 stars. Not terrible, but not very good. It's just mediocre. So yeah, watch something else. Just watch Brokeback Mountain. Just something. It's literally the same movie as this one. And lastly, I watched Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, and this was a lot of people's most anticipated movie. I was definitely looking forward to it after that disastrous Robert Zemeckis Pinocchio movie that I reviewed. It was definitely was nice to see something more refreshing, something with a lot more heart, and something with a lot more on its mind. And this was good. It was a good Pinocchio adaptation, probably in my opinion the best Pinocchio adaptation that you could possibly make, right next to the original. I would definitely put this one with the original, and the reason why I do that is because at the very least, if no other adaptations existed and the 1930s Pinocchio and this one were the only ones that existed in the world, then I know that may not sound like a coherent thing to say, because obviously it's like you can compare them, and I do think that in many ways this one does best the original, but these two are the only ones that I feel like we really need, because both of them have these two very different perspectives. So it's just like now we have all these other adaptations that are squeezed in between these two, and it's just the same story over and over again, which is kind of what holds this one back from being a great movie, is that we have other adaptations to sort of compare this one to, and that's not what I'm gonna do. But I will say that this one really did something that no other adaptation did. It feels like, this is the thing about Del Toro, he's a very good storyteller. He takes, actually, in a sense, now I think about it, there's a lot of similarities in terms of themes of Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth in this film seems to be exploring fascism, and he's very who's not anti-fascist, but the anti-fascist themes are very clear in both movies, because it's a very serious subject, and I like that he explores it in a way that helps kids sort of understand what's going on, but he doesn't hold back on the seriousness of these themes. It's nice to see a movie where it's nice to see in an animated movie where characters take out guns, because so many times it feels like a lot of filmmakers that tell these sort of animated stories that kids can watch, they seem to be afraid to sort of give the reality of these subject matters. I don't want to spoil too much, but there is a child character, and the child character has a father who is very, very, devoted to his fascist ideals, and he's trying to instill that into the son, and he tells the son to do something, and it's like something that you can understand, or in a sense not understand, but you can sort of see, the reality of why this is something that would fit into this movie. It's like, it makes sense that this is what they were doing to kids. They were trying to turn kids into soldiers at such a young age. And I like that a lot. I like movies that challenge children and give them, expose them to these things so that they can understand, why the world has changed. It's a history lesson in a sense, but we're learning about our past, and if we don't learn about our past, then we're destined to repeat it. So I appreciate Del Toro for having the balls to actually go that far in exploring anti-fascism and a very serious topic. But aside from that, the movie itself tells the story very differently. I like that Del Toro sort of brings out different sides of these characters that we haven't actually explored in other adaptations. Geppetto is definitely my favorite version of Geppetto. He seems much more flawed, and he makes mistakes, and he's learning to come to grips with, his son, who, unfortunately, not only his son that died, but also this, Pinocchio version of his son. He makes mistakes involving him, and he sort of says things to him that a father shouldn't say, but it's not like he doesn't know himself. He doesn't really know how to deal with this, and I think that's very compelling. Pinocchio is also a flawed character. He's more flawed in this movie than he is in any other adaptation. He definitely is not the innocent boy, and I like that Del Toro decided to do that too. Was instead of making him, some sort of an innocent boy that's fallen in circumstances, he instead says, he's a child that's making mistakes, and he's he says things to Geppetto, and he kind of acts in a certain way, and it's something that he's learning to grow out of. This is a coming of age story of the best kind, and by the end of the movie you can definitely see where that goes to. Like I said, there's a lot going on. I don't like this movie explores death, what death means, and what it means to sort of grow and move on and move forward. It's more about having a good soul and moving forward, because those themes really come to fruition in this movie, and it's very emotionally effective. Like Del Toro, like I said, he really goes the extra mile in terms of emotion and in terms of storytelling choices, especially near the end. Like, dear God. The animation was fantastic. I'm not even sure, as far as animation goes, I'm not really sure if some of this was motion captured. Like, I'm not sure how that's even possible, because the way some of these characters moved, it almost looked like motion captured with the stop motion animation. Like, I'm not sure if they took the stop motion animation and they used mocap to like sort of get the movements coordinated right. I don't know how they did it, but sometimes the movements specifically were so convincing that I could have swore that they motion captured that. It's just amazing. And when it comes to like the animation textures, it was really specific. Like I like there's a little part of Geppetto's hair that's very specific. It's great stop motion. It really is up there with, like Wes Anderson. And in a sense, it works sometimes better than Wes Anderson's. Wes Anderson shot everything symmetrically, while here there's a lot of variety in the camera work and the cinematography, the way the camera moves. It really is so unique. Like, it's some of the best of its kind. It's beautiful. Like I said, this has a lot of the Del Toro-esque sort of tropes in terms of there's a mysticism to it and a bit of a whimsical element to it. The film is very atmospheric, and the score is very good. It's a very emotional score. Sometimes it's very quippy and positive, and other times it's very touching at times, but still consistent. But Del Toro seemed to have a lot on his mind when he made this movie. And I like that he used a familiar story to tell a story that is very different, and he decided to sort of have something he really wanted to communicate. And I really appreciate Del Toro for that. And like I said, I really liked it. The ending, once again, it's probably my favorite part because it was so unexpected, but it was also very realistic. Yeah, this is like a movie about a talking puppet, and this is the most realistic that I've seen it done. Like I said, it's a great movie. The performances are all fantastic. Great voice acting job from everybody. I would say that David Bradley, who played Geppetto, he definitely stole the show a lot. Ewan McGregor was great as Cricket. He was by far better than Joseph Gordon-Levitt because it didn't feel like he had to force his voice to alternate to a different voice completely. Like, that was ridiculous. Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I don't know what he was thinking with that stupid voice. I understand that it was supposed to be a Disney adaptation, but that was just awful. I'm glad that Ewan McGregor here brought just emotion and humanity without having to completely change his voice. Gregory Mann was good as Pinocchio. He wasn't the best, but he did good. I'm assuming that he did his own singing. I don't know. I had to look that up, and if I do, I'll put it in the comments that was the case. It was a great cast, though. A lot of familiars are in here. Bun Gorman, who played the priest. Ron Perlman, I didn't even know he was in it. John Turturro, he was I don't remember what character he played exactly. I think about it, but Kate Blanchett, she played one of the other fairies. I mean, I can know from that sexy voice. Tim Blake Nelson, Christoph Waltz, Tilda Swinton, Tom Kitty. I mean, you got like a crazy cast of characters, like a lot of familiars. Not everybody was familiar, but the ones that were, I didn't even know, until I looked down on my phone. But yeah, like I said before, it's on Netflix. I would definitely recommend it. I'll probably check this one out again too. It was a good experience, and I'm glad that it lived up to the hype. Lived up to expectations. All I really wanted was this one to be better than the original. I mean, not the original. Better than Robbers and Exes. That's really all I care about. And it was better in a lot of ways. So yeah, 3.5, yeah, 3.5 out of 5 stars. We'll watch again. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it definitely. So yep. Alright peeps, so thanks for watching. Like I said, hopefully I'll get the Blair Witch review of the first part done by this week. I really want to get it done by this week. I'm always saying I want things done by this blah 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 week, but hopefully I get it done. But yeah, like I said, this was just a last minute thing. You know, I haven't pumped out a video, so. But anyway, if you liked the video, hit the comments. Tell me what you thought about these movies. Hit the sub, like the video, all that other stuff. You know, YouTube algorithm crap. You know, all that stuff. So yeah, hopefully y'all see y'all in the future, and peace out and love y'all.